All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Milton Select Board here on Tuesday, June 9th at 7 p.m. If you could join me and rise and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, as always, we'll start with public comment. Public comment will go for a total of 18 minutes. We will have 20 minutes. 21, excuse me, 21 minutes. We will have 3 minutes individually. I will keep both times here on my phone. And first, we have Mr. Alex.
Sit here. Chair's weird.
Just state your name and address.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Alex Hasha, and I'm the chair of the Climate Action Planning Committee. So I'm here about 2 items on your agenda tonight: the municipal decarbonization roadmap and the zero emission vehicle first policy. Your approval of these before the June 30th deadline would allow Milton to become a climate leader community and become eligible for millions of dollars in state grants for clean energy projects. The Climate Action Planning Committee considers both of these to be necessary steps towards the town's goal of net zero by 2050. And at our May 21st meeting, all 6 members present voted to endorse them. The draft climate action plan we shared with the Select Board in March 2025 recommends adoption of a zero emission vehicle first policy as well. And emergency response vehicles and heavy duty vehicles like school buses have exemptions in the policy, so near term, the policy would primarily impact vehicle classes for which electric models are practical and commercially available. We also had a few outstanding questions in our meeting that we'd encourage you to consider in your discussion, and I think Nick will address some of these later. What's the rough cost difference today between standard and zero emission replacements for the 11 light duty vehicles expected to be replaced by 2030? How many charging stations would be needed for those new EVs in the near term? And how many of the roughly 200 vehicles in the town fleet are actively used and would need to be replaced at end of life versus vehicles like trailers that aren't used frequently or don't have engines? So we're excited to see Milton on the verge of climate leader status. We raised these questions because we think they're worth getting to the bottom of, and the committee is ready to help if necessary to find the answers ahead of the deadline. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Benjamin, I believe it's Walcott. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Welcome, just state your name and your address.
I'm Ben Walcott. I live on 191 Edgehill Road. For our Civics Action Project under Ms. Cronin Connolly, we're focusing on a critical issue: the serious lack of town school funding in Milton. Because the state views Milton as affluent, Massachusetts only provides about 21% of our baseline school budget. The problem is that Milton's per pupil spending historically lacks nearly $3,000 behind the state average. We simply do not distribute enough proportionate town funds to our schools compared to the neighboring cities. This underfunding is causing massive overcrowding. My family moved here from South Boston specifically for the quality of Milton's education. We aren't the only ones, and now our Milton schools are packed. The average class at Pierce Middle School sits at about 27 students, and it gets worse in elementary schools. Splitting a tight budget among so many students leaves our physical classroom materials completely impaired. Take our school Chromebooks. They freeze constantly, and websites take ages to load. They're expensive, slow, and incredibly difficult to fix. We need to desperately measure the technology. With stronger local budget support, we can invest in highly repairable devices like the Acer Chromebook 315 for around $170, which gives us double the RAM for less money, which means better performance. A simple $50 addition to property taxes among Milton's 21,000 adults, which is really less than 0.5% for the median Milton household, would generate an extra $1 million. I could easily cover fresh Chromebooks for our 4,300 plus students, with $200,000 left over for other vital classroom resources. We urge the select board to keep these classrooms front of mind. And all we want are smaller class sizes and tools that actually work. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, Tucker Smith.
My name is Tucker Smith. I'm a 47-year resident at 1632 Canton Avenue, way out on Canton Avenue. And I'm here to support our neighborhood in terms of traffic mitigation along Upper Canton Avenue, especially as a result, we feel, of the road diet on Randolph Avenue. So I'm just going to read this because it will be more efficient. So, as homeowners at 1632 Canton Avenue, we notice a dramatic increase in volume and velocity of vehicular traffic on Upper Canton Avenue, exacerbated, we believe, by DOT's Randolph Avenue road diet. We are glad that the project appears to be granting relief to residents and business owners along that corridor. However, we're seeing many more cut-through, frustrated commuters looking to find another way anyway, home or to work. Milton's Engineering and Public Works Department have collaborated with our neighborhood to provide several permanent landscape traffic islands, temporary ones as well, with bollards, road signage, radar speed trackers, a marked pedestrian crossing, and lane markings. And we thank the town very much. These are effective and appreciated, but we need more. Really all the way from Blue Hills Parkway, all the way to Route 138 in strategic locations. Possibilities could include narrowing the street width, raising the pavement in tables, humps, bumps, lumps, whatever they're called, and even adding stop signs at certain intersections. Such are featured along other Milton streets, such as Elliott, Harland, Hillside, and others. We urge continued conversation between Mass DOT, the town of Milton, and impacted Upper Canton Avenue residents to find and fund public safety and quality of life solutions along our corridor. Upper Canton Avenue is actually a state designated scenic road, but sadly, current traffic conditions prevent everyone's safe enjoyment of it. So let's fix it together. Thank you.
For those at home, I do see we have two online. We will address the folks that are here in the room and then pivot to the Zoom. So finally on the list, we have Mr. John Corey.
Thank you, John Corey, 1452 Canton Avenue. I grew up in Milton, grew up at 77 Corey Lane, so I've been up, went to Pierce, grades 1 through 3, so I know Milton well. And now back restoring houses, and restored a house where I am now at 1452. Upper Canton Avenue, as I mentioned before, really in the last year, my neighbors and I have noticed really fast moving traffic, and I testified 2 weeks ago in front of this board here. I just wanted to point out that there was an article in the Milton Times, and there was a woman that presented from the DOT that was quoted, Kayla Sousa. She's the senior program manager at MassDOT, and she was quoted saying, we're always happy to partner and support some of the mitigation that could come through the town. So that really is, we have some Mass DOT folks here, but there perhaps could be mitigation money for the town from the road diet. We're working on a traffic calming plan now with the town, and I'm meeting with the town engineer tomorrow to go through some ideas, hoping to fast track this and set a goal of 1 year after the road diet went in, that there is some meaningful mitigation on Upper Canton Avenue to slow the cars down. It's become a neighborhood that is bifurcated by Upper Canton Avenue, and that's sad. We don't have any cross collaboration across that street. It really becomes a wall almost. So I'd like to work with this board. Nick knows I'm pretty active and I can help get things done. So hopefully you guys can harness a lot of that energy that I have too. Thank you.
Thank you. Online, I see Aaron Bradley. We can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everybody. Good evening, select board members. My name is Erin Bradley, former select board member, town meeting member, precinct 4, 28 Lincoln Street. I am chiming in today to wish everybody a happy Pride Month. I'm here specifically to talk about items 16 and 17 on your agenda today. Item 17 is the closeout of our Pride Month. We're going to have coffee and conversation, hopefully, when you on the deck over at Manning Park. And item 16 is the proclamation, which I look forward to hearing somebody read and all of you approve. I also wanted to take a moment as a member of the Milton Pride Committee to invite not only all of you sitting around the table to our Pride Festival happening this Sunday from 1 to 4, the town gazebo. But if you can't come, please step outside of your home and cheer on your neighbors as the car parade goes through town, starting at 12:30. The routes are available on the website, our Milton Pride. And that's it. Just a happy day, all the rainbows of the colors. And we love you guys and appreciate your support over the years. And can't wait to see everybody this Sunday or the last Saturday of the month, which is the 27th, for coffee and conversation. Thanks so much. Have a great night.
Thank you, Ms. Bradley. And I see here online, just the first name, Steve. Did you unmute?
Good evening,
We can hear you.
Steve O'Donnell, 65 Hills View Road, Chair of the Historical Commission. I'd like to make a couple of comments in preparation for your discussion on the Adams Street, Wanham Street intersection. Adams Street is a scenic road designated under Milton's bylaw. It is also a historic road, sometimes called the King's Highway, sometimes called the Country Highway. In 1930, the Commonwealth erected tercentenary signs throughout the state, including 4 in Milton. One was for the Country Highway, mounted on Adams Street. It said the Country Highway provided for by the General Court in 1639 to connect the Plymouth and Bay colonies. This portion was laid out in 1654 on the line of an old Indian trail. There are many historic houses on Adams Street, including 3 on Adams at the corner of Squantum. The one immediately on the corner is the Felt blacksmith shop, made out of granite, is said to have made parts for the Granite Railway. What's proposed for that intersection involves land taking at the Felt House, as well as possibly the 2 houses next door, and the moving of a historic granite wall. I should say we've been communicating and participating with MassDOT for about 4 years on this intersection. And while they have made some adjustments in response to our concerns, they still have concerns not only about the impact on the historic aspects, but all of the traffic surveys that were done in this area were done before the fire station site was selected. So I would question whether any of the surveys that were done previously have any validity at all. They're proposing a traffic light at Squantum Street, which would be just about 600 feet from the one on Brook Road. Oh, with another one in between at the fire station. So there'd be 3 traffic lights in about a 600-foot stretch. There is room at the intersection on Adams Street for a left turn lane onto Squantum, and there is room on Squantum for a left turn lane going south on Adams. MassDOT has verified that. What is creating the land taking, and I am going to suggest really a hazard, for bicyclists
1 minute, sir.
is the dedicated bicycle lane, which is gonna run about 500 feet, intersecting two streets, entrances to two parking lots, and the fire station apron. Bike lane will be separated from the travel lane by bollards, 3 feet high bollards mounted about 10 feet apart. Besides giving bicyclists a false sense of security, it is going to dramatically impact the look on a historic road. What is being proposed would be devastating to the historic character of the road and of the town. There may indeed be a need to do something with that intersection. The easier you make it for crosstown traffic, for commuters cutting through Milton, the more traffic is going to be there. We've just finished, or not finished, but we're in the middle of a real road calming situation on
Sorry, Mr.
Randolph.
O'Donnell, but that's 3 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Let me take your point. Thank you. Seeing no other hands raised online. Oh, I see one more. Mr. Doherty.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you, and I will do this in 3 minutes, I think. Thanks very much, and select board members, when you believe the time is right to do so, I suggest that you schedule a public meeting at the Council on Aging regarding the proposed Quantum Street, Adams Street intersection traffic lights. I believe that more information, including a test of the proposed traffic lights deployment, is needed in order for residents in the town to make a fully informed decision. Some factors to consider, and I've got 8, I hope I get through all of them, I think I can. 1, for most of each day and each night, and for all days and nights on weekends and holidays, such traffic lights are not needed and would slow traffic. 2, on weekends, that businesses and schools are in operation. About 2.5 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon, use of such traffic lights could be tested, comparing as-is traffic use with traffic during temporarily placed traffic lights in operation as a test. 3, nearby stoplights at the Center Street intersection with Adams Street are not coordinated in the planned new traffic lights. That's an invitation for gridlock. 4, cars, trucks, and school buses coming from Quantum Street can now turn right onto Adams Street to proceed to schools, hospitals, or mills as traffic permits. A stoplight will negate that option, so test which alternative actually works better. Similarly, 5, cars, trucks, and school buses on Adams Street can now turn left onto Quantum Street as traffic permits. A stoplight will negate that, so test which alternative works better. 6, the new fire station can have its own red light capability, put into place to stop all vehicles when its fire trucks proceed on a fire alarm call. No need, therefore, for general purpose traffic lights on the Quantum Street, Adams Street intersection. 7 out of 8, the planned short bike path accompanying the proposed traffic lights is potentially dangerous to bike riders and vehicle operators due to its—
1 minute, Mr. Doherty.
Thank you.
1 minute left.
I'm almost, I got about 30 seconds. The planned short bike path accompanying the proposed traffic lights is potentially dangerous to bike riders and vehicle operators due to its short path length. Try it and see it, and abrupt end. And lastly, historic land area is planned to be taken. Whether that's necessary, needs further thought, as the prior comment indicated. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, see no more hands raised online. We will have response to public comment later in the meeting, and we will now declare public comments closed. Thank you all. All right, to item 4 on our agenda at 7:20, I will declare the continuation of the public hearing. The application of the new singular wireless PCS doing business as AT&T for small wireless facility installation at the following locations: 175 Sumner Street, 428 Hillside Street, 20 Ridgewood Road, 121 Harborview Road, 633 Harlan Street, 1282 Randolph Ave, 681 Hillside Street, 848 Hillside Street, 650 Randolph Ave, and 800 Hillside Street.
Good evening. Just a reminder, my name is Ed Parry, it's P-A-R-E, I'm an attorney of Brown Rudnick, here representing AT&T with respect to the 9 small cell facilities that we proposed. At the last hearing, there was a question about the typo in the application for one of the sites that was corrected. I did confirm there was only one reference to Sumner Street in the Hillside Street application. That was corrected and submitted to the town manager. I think you each have a copy of that. I also confirmed that we do have the correct pole with the correct address for 428 Hillside Street. On my way here this evening, I stopped by the pole to make sure we had it correct. We do have it correct. I think that addresses the comments that we received from the public. With that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions. There was a question about fees at the last hearing. And when I went back and looked, your policy already addresses fees. You can we have to recertify each of these small cell facilities that we continue to maintain in Milton, and there's a town charge of $270 per node that we confirm that it's still in use. With that, I think that's all of the issues that I had for homework anyway. I'm happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you. Mr. Milano, I believe we asked if town legal would be able to take a look at this beforehand. Did they able to make any comments?
Yes, town council through KP Law did review all the applications and confirmed the applications were complete. They also reviewed the proposed orders that were drafted by Attorney Parry and confirmed that those were in their view and sufficiently good for what we would done.
To the matter to the floor. Questions or comments from the members?
You know, I mean, when I think about our role, it's to, it's fairly narrow given the FCC jurisdiction here, and it's to, keep an eye on compliance with the town of Milton's policy on the application requirements and aesthetic standards for small facility installations. So, from my perspective, I think, I have no additional questions or concerns with respect to the application.
Any thoughts from the members? I will take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move to approve the amended application of New Singular Wireless PCS LLC DBA AT&T for small wireless facilities installation at the following locations: 175 Sumner Street, 428 Hillside Street, 20 Ridgewood Road, 121 Harborview Road, 633 Harlan Street, 1282 Randolph Ave, 681 Hillside Street, 848 Hillside Street, 650 Randolph Avenue, and 800 Hillside Street.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Driscoll. Mr. Driscoll, your votes?
Yes.
Mr. Overshaw?
Yes.
Ms. Nolan?
Yes.
Ms. Hagerty?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Okay, that brings us to item 5, discussion approval with the trustees of public library to consider filling a vacancy on the board of library trustees until the 2027 annual town meeting. I'll let you all address.
And trustees, you can filter out if you don't mind.
One or all?
Everybody will need a vote, so Sean. Yes.
And the chair of the trustees,
Sorry,
Jamie Levash, is online, I believe.
I think Paul Hayes is joining us.
Is Paul
That'd be
online?
Paul with the last name on here.
Probably.
So I will update Paul. Is that everyone? Paul and Jane? So just to be clear, this is due to Sean Bentley's resignation. He was recognized at town meeting, and we thank him again for his service to the town. We spoke about that at town meeting, and this is to fill the vacancy until the next town election, at which time the position will be on the ballot. So I can just invite you all to introduce yourselves before discussion.
So I'm Will Adamczyk, I'm your library director.
Christine Hogland, library trustee.
John Folcarelli, library trustee.
Susan Doyle, library trustee.
Ellie Fisher, library trustee.
Ms. Lavash online?
Jamie Levash, library trustee.
Paul Hayes, library trustee.
And if I could summarize for you, Sean Bentley notified the library trustees in April that he would be moving out of town. The trustees had a discussion and vote at their May 6th meeting before town meeting. And then again last night to confirm that they would recommend to the select board to appoint Mark Johnson as the replacement for the vacant position. Mark Johnson ran in the most recent town election for library trustee. He came in fourth, 3 were elected, he came in fourth with over 1,700 votes. Mr. Johnson is a regular user of the library, he works there very frequently, and he's also provided some programming for the community through the library's programs.
Thoughts or questions from the members?
So just, I guess a question for Nick, and I think I know the answer, but just in terms of like the decision-making authority here, it's really is it joint between, there's consensus among the library trustees and the select board, we can go ahead and fill the seat basically.
You're essentially acting as one large entity right now
Okay.
jointly, so everybody would need to vote, and whatever that vote is, we're standing and consider as the decision for the
And this is the standard operating procedure in for
Yeah.
a board such as this, that you'd go to the next highest vote getter to fill the spot from the previous election.
Not necessarily,
Okay.
this board is entitled to appoint anybody
Okay.
To that position, and the trustees, in their analysis, thought that was the best recommendation, but that's not a
Okay.
procedure or process that's required.
But there's unanimous,
We'll find out.
okay,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I
Okay,
think the last
sorry.
time this happened was when Herb Voigt died and he was appointed Ray's, and he was not here, being trustee. So,
I'll add, I know Mark, through both Collicott parents, but more so, I saw him, at all the candidate forums and things like that. I think he's, I observed him to be extremely enthusiastic about the position, avid library fan. Seemed very capable, really kind person. My observations, I think, are pretty consistent with the recommendation here from the library trustees.
We'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to appoint Mark Johnson to fill the vacancy on the Board of Library Trustees until the April 2027 town election.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Be a roll call vote between all of us. Correct. I will start online. Ms. Levash.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
John Folcarelli, yes.
Christine, yes.
I don't vote.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And myself, yes. Congratulations, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Item 6, I'd like to welcome Amy Dexter, our Finance Director, for departmental report.
everyone.
Hello.
So I guess I'm here tonight to tell you a little bit about my department and what we do. I put together a fancy PowerPoint because accounting is very riveting. But I'll make it quick. Basically, the way the town is organized is we have the finance organization consists of the town administrator, human resources director, myself, the finance director, town accountant, the treasurer, collector, and the chief assessor. Those 4 department heads all report in to the town administrator, but we all work very closely on a daily basis, assisting with different tasks and just kind of helping each other on a day-to-day basis. There is some segregation of duties amongst those 4, and that's intended more or less to ensure that the town financial resources are managed accurately, transparently, in compliance with applicable laws, regulations, and policies. And those systems of internal controls and checks and balances between the 4 departments are there to detect errors and to minimize any risk of fraud. Who do we all support? We support other town departments, town employees, the taxpayers and the residents, vendors and contractors, auditors and other regulatory agencies that we report to, and town leaderships, boards, and committees. My group is the accounting group under that umbrella, consists of myself, and then I have 3 full-time staff members, all members of the SPIA union. I have an assistant town accountant, financial analyst, and a principal bookkeeper. What are our core functions in the accounting department? Budgeting, forecasting, and financial reporting. That financial reporting is internal as well as external. For instance, Department of Revenue, we have annual reporting requirements to Schedule A, tax recap that we assist with, and as you all know, the balance sheet free cash certification is one of the biggies. And then we also have some reporting to the Federal Clearinghouse, which is where we file the audited financial statements and reports on an annual basis. What else do? We maintain all the financial records of the town. We pay our vendors and contractors. We do some internal audit and verification procedures around payroll and cash receipts and treasury functions. And we give financial guidance to department heads, staffs, boards, committees, whoever needs it. We're just kind of everywhere there to support whatever. As you all know, the total town budget is approximately $230 million. That consists of an general fund operating budget of about $156 million. 4 enterprise funds for around $18 to $20 million, and 400 plus other funds. Some have really small amount of money, some have larger. Special revenue funds, capital project funds, community preservation, federal state grants, gifts, scholarships, trusts, and our stabilization funds. That's a lot of record keeping, a lot of reconciliation, a lot of financial reporting that is accomplished with 4 full-time staff, including myself. So I'm pretty proud of my staff for that. I think we do a lot of work with very little resources. So I want to acknowledge them and thank them for all of their hard work and their service to the town. They've all been here a long time and very loyal employees, and I just can't give a presentation without thanking them for that. And then last but not least, what are our challenges and what are my concerns moving forward for the accounting department? One of the biggies is our software is outdated. A lot of our processes and our procedures are very manually intensive. We are in the process collectively between the treasurer collector's office, town administrator's office, my department, and human resources and the school department, looking at a solution to modernize and improve the payroll and human resource functions. Once we select a vendor and a solution for that, we're going to move on and start evaluating accounting software packages that would include not only the day-to-day general ledger, accounts payable processes that my staff does, but also the budgeting and forecasting. That our current software there is very weak and everything's done in Excel. So it's a lot of work and it's very manual. I already mentioned that we do all of the financial reporting and record keeping for over $230 million with a staff of 4. And then one of my biggest concerns is succession planning. All of my department, including myself, will probably, I'm anticipating will retire within the next 5 to 7 years. That's a big concern for me because I've discussed this with Nick and Carla a lot. Like, I want to make sure that I set up my department for future success. So as there's turnover at town hall staff or in my department specifically, I'm gonna keep that in mind to try to like get some talented people in here that we can mentor and maybe, you know, give them a chance to have a long-term career here. So for the town, I think it's a great place to work, nice family-life balance, and you know, I would encourage anyone listening, we do have some openings. That's it. Any questions?
Where's your eraser, your pencil with an eraser?
That's at my desk,
That's a good,
along with
that's
my
what you
10 key
needed.
calculator.
I was always told you need a big eraser when
You
you're
do.
an accountant.
You do. Yep, and I'm still a paper person, so I
Good.
still do a lot of writing, even though
Good for
I
you,
have to.
and thank your staff.
Oh, I will, tell them you said that, thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
When you talked about the software, I know you mentioned that you were looking at a vendor for some of the different pieces like payroll. How are you kind of thinking about that and what would that look like in your kind of ideal world?
So basically a package where human resources and payroll are integrated. So for instance, right now when we have new hires, everything's manual, a lot of paper pushing around. So a lot of people touch that piece of paper and there's a lot of areas for mistakes to be made with the data entry, or someone writes their birthday down or their social security number, you might think a 2's a 5 or whatever. So what this would look like is there'd be an interface with the employees where a new hire would get an email that says, welcome to Milton Public Schools. Here's all your new hire documents you need to fill out, and they would fill those out electronically, and that would come over to payroll, create the new employee in our payroll system. Same thing if they have an address change or something like that, they could do that through the self-service. And then that would just cut down on a lot of they fill out a form when they come, we fill out a cover sheet, that goes to HR, and then it goes to payroll. And there's just a lot of steps along the way, especially think of August, September, when school's opening and there's a lot of new employees coming on. It's a lot of work, and we have one payroll person that's in Joanna McCarthy's department in the treasurer collector's office. So there's these peaks and valleys that can be stressful at times for that person, and we do have a lot of people that are there to help out when needed, but it would just really kind of make that whole process more efficient and less risk for error. And we can focus more on looking at what the new hire entered and making sure it is supported by the documents provided and that kind of thing.
What's stopping the adoption of the new software?
So we're in the final stages of selecting a vendor, but honestly, it's been held up a little bit because our payroll person is vacant. And we cannot consider doing a conversion without a payroll person. So originally, we were looking or hoping to maybe implement something before school opened. Payroll's also tricky because you want to do it at a quarter end because of the IRS filings. And that vacancy's been vacant for a couple months, so we have multiple people helping out there, and it's just, you just can't do an implementation without that. And you also don't wanna throw that at a new person right away. So we're hoping that if, once we get that filled, we can move forward, and we're looking more at a January 1 implementation go live date, which would be actually more desirable anyways, because then you have your full calendar year of earnings in one system, and you don't have to kind of Band-Aid them together.
Is that something where you'd want the new payroll person involved picking the vendor, or would you pick the vendor
I don't think
first?
so, because we have Carla Feedy, our Human Resources Director, did the payroll position for a while. She's helping out now. We have Julia Folsham, who was the one who just vacated that position. She got an opportunity at the school that she couldn't pass up, so she's still available to help us. I used to manage that process. I've been through a payroll implementation in my prior private industry experience. So, and then Joanna's very, good with the software and everything. So I think we have a lot of key players that can help out. And then we just kind of have to work all together as a team to do that. But yeah, I think that person would be probably doing more of the busy work than actually picking the vendor.
Thoughts, questions?
Amy, I just wanna thank you for all your hard work, especially working with all of us every other Monday at the Budget Coordination Committee meeting. You handle a lot of questions, and it's been really impressive and edifying to walk through the financial forecasts, and you and your team and Nick have been very collaborative with us and the school department and everybody. So a lot of the success of the past budget cycle, having it go a lot more smoothly than it's gone in years past, I think is due to your leadership, so
Thank you. I think we have a good team, and I think on a daily basis do whatever we can to help each other out. So I think it's a really good group that you have up there at Town Hall, all across the town and the schools. So
Yep.
I mean, we're very fortunate that we do have a good team. So thank you for that.
This might be a stupid question. What about a payroll service? Is the town
Well,
too big
that's-
for that?
No, so that's one of the solutions that we're looking at is
It
outsourcing
made my life
it.
easier.
Yeah, because what that service would do is we still would have a lot in-house to do, but they take all the tax filings off
The
our
W-2
staff, and they
everything.
take the liability of those being late. They process the W-2s, and that would free up
Help.
our staff person to help in other areas that we desperately need it. So yes, that's what we're looking at, and that's why we are trying to make that decision first before we then go select an accounting software vendor, because we wanna make sure that whatever we choose
It's
can work
compatible.
together, yeah. Yeah. But it's not a dumb question,
All right.
because
It made my life easier.
yeah, and the employees will really like it too, because of the self-service, like they can go in and check how much vacation time they have left, sick time, that kind of stuff, and right now, that's all manual as well. It's in Excel spreadsheets, they have to call the admin, so we're very kind of old school, so we're making some progress, and it'll be a huge help, and then we do need help desperately in other areas, so that person, those efficiencies won't eliminate the position, they'll just free that person up to focus and helping in other areas where we need it.
Good.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Just one comment, just to echo everyone else, Amy, thanks to you and your team for all the work you've done. I haven't been here that long, but when I came in, I heard how strong, of addition you've been in the past year, so thank you. On the challenges slide from your presentation, there was also the short staff comment. I just wanted to clarify, is that, I think I understand what that means, but is that because of the vacant position, or is it both because of the
No.
vacant position and you'd like more staff?
No, I don't need more staff.
Okay.
Well, I guess the point I was trying to make with that is I have a fabulous team and we get a lot done
Mhm.
with a few people. So I just wanted to highlight that because I
Absolutely.
feel like they work really hard, but I do not need additional staff.
Got it.
And the vacancy is actually in the treasurer collector's office, so that's in Joanna's office. But yeah, no, we've operated with a staff of 4 probably for about 6 or 7 years. It used to only be 3 of us, and then we created the financial analyst position, which has been a huge help. She helps me with a lot of the regulatory filings and the month-to-month reconciliations with Joanna's group and things like that. So I don't need more staff, but thank you for
I don't think you have room for any more staff.
I don't.
I have a couple questions. One on the succession plan.
Mhm.
Can you go a little bit more into how you see that working? And have we had that in place previously for a position? That's a really good point about where
No.
your staff is.
So I've been there almost 16 years, and when I was hired, I came from the private sector because they really couldn't find anybody with municipal finance experience. And over those years, it's gotten worse. There's articles and whatnot out there of just the shortage of municipal finance professionals. So my vision for that is as the staff in my area moves on or retires or whatever, that I would like to really make sure we find somebody that is interested in a career in municipal finance and interested in working their way up until the point when I leave. Because the natural people that would replace me are discussing retirement around the same time that I'm looking at retiring. So that's what worries me is I would preferably, if I could, have at least a year trying to train someone. So when I get to that point, I'll be very upfront and honest and give a lot of notice about this is what I'm thinking when I'm thinking of retiring. So I guess I don't want to make a big deal of that, but it is, we're having difficulty filling some lower level roles that I think if I look at when that time comes of getting someone, maybe they don't have municipal finance and maybe they only have a couple years in accounting, but if they work with me long enough and the rest of my staff, like we could train them and really mentor them to just work their way up and be able to step into our roles as we move on.
It's almost like a modified kind of apprenticeship.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important because municipal finance is an odd duck and there's a lot of differences. If you can find someone that's worked in other industries, like so when I took the job, I can remember saying in my interview, like I've worked in a lot of different industries. To me, municipal government is just another one. You need to know who to ask, where to go for training, who to ask for help. And then, you get there. So I just think it's important that I keep that in mind, like I would never, my plan is to really give a lot of notice so that that can happen, hopefully.
I think
Not leaving tomorrow or anything, but.
I think that's important, perhaps for us as a board to think about and what can we help you put in place, because 5 years can be here in no time.
Right.
And if we could work now, it may take a while before we think of who's the person that comes in and starts to train, and take a while to find someone. And certainly wouldn't want us to be caught flat-footed with 3 or 4 people walking out the door in the same year.
Yeah, and I don't think that will happen, but yeah.
Are there any specific openings you want to mention or highlight for us? I know you talked about payroll and that there are a number
Yeah, so there's a senior admin clerk for payroll in the treasurer collector's office, and there's also a senior admin position at the police department that does their payroll and some administrative work. So those are the two that we interact in my department with a lot that are vacant, that we're currently searching for the right candidates for.
I will echo everyone else's statements and thank you for all the work that you have done. And in my year on the board, it has been great to work with yourself and Joanna. And folks don't know all the work you do behind the scenes on the budget, how important that is. You heard those young men tonight who talked about the school budget and us trying to balance that. And it's not easy work and it's not always praised. So thank you for all the work.
Thank you.
And I do think you're also here to talk to us about item 7.
Yes.
So item 7, the application of the surplus bond proceeds for less than $50,000 to our 2026 debt service.
Yeah, so my staff and I have been reviewing some of the capital projects that are on the books, and the list that I submitted are some older projects where we did borrowings and the projects came in less than what the proceeds from the borrowings were. So under Mass General laws, the select board can take a vote to apply those excess proceeds to debt service. So I'm requesting that a total of $60,036.48 from surplus bond proceeds be applied to the fiscal 26 debt service appropriation.
Any questions, comments from members?
This isn't to specific, this is just to the overall debt service, it's not
Correct.
to any specific projects.
I see some of these projects go back a long time. Are we just keeping these until it got to a critical mass, or is this just some housekeeping?
This is house cleaning that we just probably should have done a lot sooner than we're doing, and my goal is to keep up with this. There are a couple projects that have larger dollar amounts, so the select board can take the vote if on an individual project basis it's 50,000 or less. So that's what these are, but there's at least 3 other projects that I'm working with department heads and Nick to do some research to just make sure I have all the facts and circumstances around them that would require a vote by town meeting, so I'm working on that for the special town meeting.
Because those are over 50,000.
Yes.
And I'll note just more kind of globally and procedurally, we've slightly altered our borrowing approach to shift borrowings later in the year so that we bring in more or less exactly what's spent and avoid a position where we might borrow for money that we expect to spend and then either don't spend it, don't spend all of it, or the equipment doesn't come in when we expect it, now we brought money in and it's sitting there. So there's just another procedural tweak that should mitigate some of this in terms of being in this place where we have a bunch of projects with $1,000, $2,000 left over. So that's just a slight change that has been implemented since the state changed the rules about when you can borrow. So that's helped minimize some of this.
Any questions? I'll take a motion. Anyone so moved?
Move to approve the application of surplus bond proceeds less than 50,000 as presented to fiscal year 2026 debt service.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Obersheimer, seconded by Mr. Driscoll. Mr. Driscoll, your vote, sir.
Yes.
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 And myself, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Shaking the couch cushions.
That's pretty much what it is.
You gotta do it.
Right.
Alright, we'll move to item 8, discussion and update of Library College closure and sale and subsequent appraisal, which we discussed in last meeting. And Mr. Milano, I will open the floor to you to just get us up to speed on where we stand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, as members may be aware, and what I put in the packet were the presentations that were made at school committee on June 3rd. The school committee did pick up their conversation about programming or potential programming at La Brea if it was a town-owned facility and what they would consider a potential program for there, and they did vote to that a program that they agreed on that would work would be district administration pre-kindergarten kindergarten program at that site. There was discussion about continuing, potentially studying whether a K-5 option would work there, as that is the option that is currently in the MSBA program. But they did agree that a district admin pre-K and kindergarten program would work, and they're interested in the select board continuing to engage with La Brea about a potential acquisition. School building committee also attended, Shauna Rook rather, also attended that meeting and talked about some of the steps the school building committee is working on. So they have signed up or signed services with an architectural firm to do like a test fit analysis and a structural analysis of the building to determine in terms of facility square footage and space what would fit physically on the site and what that might cost. So that work is being lined up to be underway. They're looking to get over for a site visit, if possible, next week, and then report back by the end of July to the school building committee in terms of quantum of cost and conceptual type design conversations and what a renovation project might entail or might need to include in order to fit that program. Those were the two takeaways as I had it from school committee, and then I'll just note that we did request quotes for an appraisal. Landvest was the sole respondent to a batch of requests for quotes that we sent out. They have submitted a proposal for a full narrative appraisal report for $13,500 for the property. Landvest is the firm that we used for the East Mountain Fire Station, both for potential sale price as well as when the town acquired 432 Adams Street. So they're familiar with the town and done work for the town previously. I think those were the updates as they stand now, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Yes, question.
Yes.
So, when Mr. O'Rourke was speaking about the architectural analysis, so to speak, of the building, and the cost estimate, the potential cost estimate that they would be developing, can you speak a little bit more as to what that cost signifies? Would that, so in thinking about like what the potential total cost of a new school program on site and the components of that, assuming it's the site acquisition cost, the purchase, plus renovation, etc., is the work that's being done right now by the architects, will that result in the renovation cost or renovation estimate? Or is that a piece of work that precedes, does Mr. O'Rourke believe that is a piece of work that precedes the renovation cost?
No,
I'm trying to
products-
understand like how quickly are we gonna get like to hardened numbers? Because it sounds to me like it's still, like that analysis will still be something that we'll have to be kind of flexible with in understanding
the
all-in.
the goal is that by the end of July, August timeframe is that we have conceptual layouts of the renovation. And what was, I think, everybody was or Sean and others were careful to make clear is that this would include an addition. The building as it stands will not support a district admin pre-KK, it does need to be an addition. So conceptual layout of the renovation work that's required, any addition that's required, amount of square footage that's being touched and renovated, that will then be turned over to a cost estimator that will give us a cost estimate for the addition renovation to convert what's there today into what could be a district admin for pre-KK. So it should be
And it's
obviously.
still the cost estimate, it's not the final drawings,
No,
materials, all in.
No, this is a very early
Yeah.
pre-schematic design
Yeah.
level kind of estimate, so it'll obviously have a lot of assumptions in it, but it should
Right.
give us a good
I just
scale,
wanna set that
yeah.
table for everyone,
It's a scale, it's a rough estimate for,
Yeah.
in terms of what we should expect for a scale of cost. The other thing I just wanna note is that their approach has been really to kind of just say the admin building, which is the front building when you get to La Brea, is we're just gonna take it as it is. And
Okay.
projects that may be needed to better outfit that building, that's not gonna be something that we're gonna have a number for right now. So the assumption there is we're gonna live with that building as it is, maybe there's projects in the future, but the numbers that will be produced through this work are to make the educational facilities support pre-K and K.
Okay.
Other thoughts, questions? We got a few, go ahead, John.
Well, that tour was very great, it was good, and it's a great site. And I think we should proceed, see what we can do with it. And no matter what we do, it's just gonna cost money. So it'd be crazy to pass up on it. And it's a well-kept building, the front part and the back. And I think we should just all in. That's my personal opinion. It's probably the quickest, right? To get them some classrooms.
There is a future decision point to be made as to whether to try to ask the MSBA whether they would consider allowing the town to pursue the pre-KK option within the MSBA program. That would be the longest probably timeline of a project, so not necessarily quicker if that's the path we chose, but if the town just proceeded with this building without the MSBA, it might be quickest, but we have to have a conversation to make sure the math lines up that it's necessarily the most cost-effective solution once you take the MSBA reimbursement and state dollars out of a project. So it may be the fastest, but that's a decision we don't have the information yet to be able to say that is certainly the case yet.
I just wanna highlight two board and procedural things. We did ask the schools to attend tonight, but they have a couple other meetings going, so they could not attend. We will be meeting with them in the coming weeks. We also are meeting with the planning board now on the 23rd, and at that point, we hope that the planning board expresses their thoughts on that way as well, so that all the committees and boards have had their opportunity to share as we move forward. Just want to say that.
Couple thoughts. Very interested in property. I mean, this is an exciting opportunity potentially. I think the opportunity to maintain control or, the direction of that property is very attractive. As a parent, if we hear from the school committees that they're enthusiastic about, or that they feel that this addresses some of the overcrowding or the overcrowding issue, that's great. Just a couple process thoughts. It's kind of what a few of you guys were saying about sort of the complexity of the next couple months. Particularly you, Megan, with I think you're kind of getting at expectation setting in terms of what we're going to be receiving end of July by school building committee after taking into account the program recommendation from school committee. I mean, it's sort of expectation setting between our boards and committees, but also like expectation setting to the public. My only point there, I mean, I'm observing like a lot of hard work happening by the school committee and school building committee, and I think that's great. I think we should be looking for as many kind of touch points with each other over the next couple months, just to make sure like what we're receiving is what we're expecting, and what's most useful to us, and we're just all on the same page with like the basis of, you know, information that will inform our ultimate decision on the school path. You know, I don't have any concerns that that's not happening now, but I just think in such a tight timeline. So I'm glad to hear they'll be coming here. You know, I'm on the school building committee, there's different touch points, but I just think we should keep looking for opportunities to have direct connections and kind of ongoing discussion basically between those committees, including planning board. So that's, I guess, one other thought on the school path is traffic. And, you know, I think that first popped in my head. I think Superintendent Phelan brought it up at an earlier presentation, just identifying that it's like something we probably want to, you know, we'd take into account too as we consider the attractiveness of this option.
Well, especially too with the intersection proposed at Adams and Squantum, like that whole area needs to be studied.
You know, this is complicated.
Yeah,
But
and the fire station too isn't
Yeah.
that far away, yeah.
And well, I'll just zoom out for a second and I'll try to be efficient here, but I mean, all of my next couple of comments and thoughts are all gonna be about like, are we setting into motion any kind of information we think we need back by our decision point? I don't think we can have everything in this tight of timeline, you know, I think we need to also be realistic, like what is beyond, you know, what are the answers that we can't have within the time frame we need to operate by. But on traffic, is there something we can be doing there to be kind of assessing the situation? I might put that to, I don't know who can answer, Nick, Winston, I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that, but.
I think what you're both getting at is that as we go, we need to create a complete package of what this potential purchase means. If we buy Lab Array, and I think from here right now is we feel that the school is plan A with the school's plan of pre-K and kindergarten. If that's the case, then we are creating everything else around it, what the impact of that means. And so the school's program, why does it work? Why does it alleviate space? What do they do with the space that's now alleviated in the elementary schools, because those were differently designed spaces for younger people? Is that a potential, another cost for sort of reconfiguring the school? What do we say to our parents who now will have one central early age learning center just for, this sort of term, where now your kindergartner is not walking down the street, they're getting on a bus to go to a new space. This is if this all happens. So I think we're talking about putting all of this together as we're talking to the town about what the potential of this is. It also impacts when we're talking about Squantum and the lights, which we'll get to in a minute. And the conversation with the neighbors on Milton Hill, which I think we haven't gotten any objections yet. I can't, assume that's wholesale support for the change of Lab Array, but if there is, what does that mean for the schools to be there? So I think we're taking the first steps in what is building a large package and message to the town about what this all means, and that we've taken everything into consideration for all the questions that are going to be asked. And I think that's the important piece about getting all the boards in the rooms together multiple times over the next few months, deliverables by July, knowing what the expectations are, and so we all get these answers, and no blind spots as we hopefully, if this works, present it at the town meeting for the town vote. So I think there's a lot of steps, or a lot further to go in a short period of time. It will be an accelerated timeline, but that we are creating a good story, a narrative, and a full package to all the residents so they understand what the potential of the location is.
I think just to the traffic piece specifically, I also think to that point is kind of understanding when deliverables might be delivered.
Yeah.
So traffic is something, if people feel is important to have a work product on, you know, it's gonna take some time to scope it out, to sign up with somebody to allocate the funding. And the school building committee does still have additional funding left over, so there is potentially funding available. You know, they can do some existing conditions analysis now, but we certainly don't want them doing counts in July and August because they need to sit and wait for some counts to come back. Maybe we have some existing data we can point to, but we're gonna have to wait until August, end of August, September for that to like kind of get back in full swing. So that might be a deliverable that we can have and react to ahead of a town meeting vote, but maybe not when this board needs to kind of make some concrete decision points about whether to proceed with the school. So again, expectation setting and a calendar will be helpful so we can continue to work that out. And then again, if traffic is something that you would like to see something on, then we can start to get the wheels in motion on that now to because it'll take a little bit of work to get it put together.
Just not, you gotta think about Central Ave, that backs up at rush hour, Randolph Ave. You gotta go all the territory.
And it's
You know,
also
school
understanding
times,
that the school, what is the school's transportation plan? Do they expect
buses.
how many students to be on buses, how many students to be in a car, and what does that look like? So that we'll need information from them as well, beyond kind of the existing, because just Library Corner alone is challenging going from
You
east
got
west.
St. Agatha School in that area. A lot of,
And the school's going to talk to us about arrival and dismissal times for pre-K and kindergarten, and what that impacts. And John, sitting on this board with you for the last 6 or 8 months now, I always think about maintenance. So holding Lab Array, it's not that we have it on Monday and things start working on Tuesday. We gotta also calculate the maintenance costs for the number of months that we're just gonna be holding on to.
They have a big lawn.
yeah, but they're gonna put a new building up.
So
Until
all
that
factors-
building goes up.
Yeah. All factors for us to consider, and this is us doing, you know, best case scenario that this does work out, and we do think this is the path forward.
Yeah, can I, I completely agree with all that. Could I propose as like an action item? And traffic is just an example. Like I do think we will find that there's certain things that aren't, you know, achievable to have like firm information on by August or by, you know, whenever we'd be going to the town, let's call it November, December, I don't know. But I think it's better to identify that, and then when we're talking about, you know, where we hope to be in August or November, we know that's kind of in the post-acquisition play versus pre. And just for so we're not kind of surprised by any big ticket items that could kind of derail things. So with traffic, I might just ask, is it fair to ask as like an action item, Nick, for you to just kind of think about what we would wanna do to sort of study what our options are basically to kind of study traffic in this tight a timeline or what kind of timeline that would require, and then we could just talk about it more next meeting and to help us inform us if we wanna get anything in motion there. I mean, feel free for you guys to amend that example.
No, I think working with DPW engineering to identify potential scope and what kind of process it'll take to pull that together, and reporting on kind of initial scope thoughts within a couple of weeks is something we can do.
I would, I'm jumping around, but I do think like the operating maintenance costs, like the overall kind of budget impact is also necessary information for us. To me, I would put that like sometime over to July to hear back. Like I'm not saying that needs to be, you have to like present on that next meeting, you know, but I would just think about it. We should think about that in the work stream. Only one other thought for now, like I appreciate this conversation is, again, and this is all sort of like contingency planning. If we find ourselves in kind of a scenario where between now and our acquisition decision, if for whatever reason, the school option turns out not to feel viable, and I think we're all kind of talking as if,
Or if a library doesn't wanna work with us and wants to sell to someone else.
well, fair, I'm thinking that's,
There could be a buyer that just makes an offer they can't.
oh,
beat,
for sure,
right?
yeah. My point was, like, are we interested potentially in acquiring, in looking to acquire the property if we're hearing from the schools that it's not, or the numbers financially don't prove economical or something like that. I think that's a question we need to be asking ourselves, like, in June, rather than like in late July, August, if we find ourselves in that situation. I'm not saying that should, we have to be careful too, cause you don't wanna you don't wanna pull resources away and attention and focus away from having to kind of really look at the school option from all angles. So I don't have it all figured out, like exactly how hard to push on exploring that other option. But I think we need to be thinking about if we find ourselves in that situation, like are we still interested in attempting to acquire? And if so, like what do we wanna have done by August on that? I don't have the answer to that, but I think it might inform, what else we need to be doing on that stuff. I just wanna try to kind of frame it that way.
Well, regardless, we have to do a debt exclusion for this. Cause there's no room in the capital program.
Not for,
Yeah.
of where we expect the price to be.
I think that would be a great conversation with the planning board too. So I think in some ways it's great that we have, the upcoming date together. But, I think sooner than later, we may wanna have that answer in our minds. I think it'll just inform what, like, parallel work needs to be happening. And again, I think we need to be careful, cause you don't wanna kind of divide resources and focus from like multiple paths here.
So with that in mind, if there was some sort of point that we got from the schools that for some reason was no longer a viable place for either school program, then we're getting into zoning, what's there if we buy it, and then probably holding it for a longer period of time, because we're less likely to have a project ready to go out when we ask for the debt exclusion.
Correct.
And at that point, it's more or less what town meeting will allow us to do.
Because our ask at town meeting would just be, we would like to buy Laboret. Working on goes there.
Right, I mean, in some ways, it's how serious are we about being in that position, knowing we have limited time and resources. Feels, it's complicated.
It's both. One, we're trying to be very mindful and protective of the town and the spaces here. And I think all of us know the residents who have felt very helpless with the 40Bs and other sort of incursions that have happened here. So folks would definitely want us to have some control of a space that's valuable as Laboret. Thinking the earliest we would know about that would have to be after the appraisal, and then maybe with the school deliverable in July. But I think with the planning board's help, maybe and some other entities, they say, well, if it didn't work, here are the ideas either around zoning or something in potential. So perhaps. Any other thoughts, comments? do think what's out on the floor is the proposal for the appraisal for Landvest to appraise the property. So I would take a motion if anyone so moved.
Move to approve a proposal for Landvest for appraisal services for Library College.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Mr. Driscoll, you will.
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea.
Yes.
Ms. Nolan.
Yes.
Ms. Abbott.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Alright, forward we go. Alright, item 9, discussion of the approval of the special town meeting day timeline, potential warrant articles, also the November state ballot questions. Assuming Ms. Galvin will not be joining us.
No, she is, would be available for our next meeting. Yes, would be available for our next meeting. She and I had a conversation, and I think she should speak with the board, but expressing some potential concerns with just the sheer number of ballot questions that will be voters at the state election, and whether adding 1 or 2 local questions such as Atherton and or La Brea would be impactful, and just what do you get from a voter who's, are they gonna get through all 12 questions, all 13 questions? You know, we're talking about a multi-page ballot front and back. So just overall concerns in terms of what may be asked of voters, and whether a local special election with, you know, dedicated to 1 or 2 questions may be a better option for just voter. So that's, I'll defer to her. And then just on special town meeting date, we did ask the schools about dates in November, just to start looking at alternatives, and things get a lot busier once you get into November between the theater program and other school events. So there are minimal dates available in November. I think the 2 that were 9th and 10th of November. Staying away from that state election in the first week, but then after that, you approach the theater and the musical week nights, and then Thanksgiving week, and then school events in late November, early December. So it looks like October will probably be still the best opportunity for a town meeting, just based on availability of the high school as well.
Have we ever met anywhere other than the high school auditorium? Like, is Pierce big enough?
We had that conversation and didn't do the homework on it, but
Okay.
we'll continue to chase that down, but not to my knowledge, but that we have.
Pierce may not have the AV.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So to kind of frame this, right now, the proposed amount of ballot questions for November is somewhere between like 10 and 13, with us adding 2 more, which get it to that, right?
As things stand, there will be 11 state ballot questions.
So our 2 would make it 12 and 13.
Some may come up, and we won't really know that until later in July and into August.
And to resurface what we talked about in the last meeting, about that August 5th deadline, which kind of becomes moot if Sue comes and says that she would prefer that we stay away from that November ballot and then pick a special election date, which would be potentially fire station and library.
Yes, and just in terms of special election costs, you know, we had the special last year, which was closer to like $45,000, and then the special for that we take communities vote is closer to $60,000, so it'll give you that broad range of between $40,000 and $60,000 in terms of cost to run a special election.
Can I ask a question? About the, like, historic, has there been other times where we've had this many state ballot questions, and what does the voting look like, or is it, that's just data that we can't get?
No, we can, I don't know, this I think is the most that's ever really been contemplated for Massachusetts. I can ask, she can provide that information on it, when she returns, but this is certainly, I think, even the news articles have been covering it, this is a lot. I can't remember there being this many questions.
There's a lot of questions.
So there's one related to gun ownership rights that is on no matter what, and the other 10 are initiative petitions that if there's a compromise at the legislative level that could come off, or they don't get their signature requirements, they could fall off, so there is that's the flux, is if there's some compromise on Beacon Hill, or they don't get all the signatures they need to get in the next couple of weeks.
is it the August 5th date when we would, it's probably before that, when we would be asked to decide of those two potential ballot questions, whether we want to direct those to be on the ballot or not. Like,
Correct, we need to submit them to the Secretary of State by August 5th if we want them on the state election ballot.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're not deciding that tonight, right?
Right, no.
So it's sometime in July probably that we're figuring that. I'm not looking for a specific date, I just think there's kind of like a couple questions all wrapped up there in terms of this strategy or the decision around whether you want the fire station to go kind of separate from Laboret or together, I don't know.
When there are state questions and municipal questions on a ballot, my recollection is that the municipal questions follow the state questions.
Correct.
We can never put our questions on top of theirs, okay?
That would be nice. But no.
What's our history of
special elections just for debt exclusion issues? So
Have
there,
we had them?
I think the last debt exclusion would have been in 2021 for the fire station projects.
And that was just one question by itself?
If I'm remembering right, I wasn't here, but I believe that's what I remember from looking at the information. There was the CPC question was on the November 2020 state election, I think. So that had been on the state election ballot as a local question added to that.
Just trying to think how we get residents out for a special election, it's just two debt exclusion questions.
Well, they'll be out because it's a state,
It's a
yeah,
special
yeah,
election.
yeah.
Yeah, sort of.
It's just getting them to go read all the way down the ballot.
But if we decide not to go with that ballot, and it's a
Right.
special election just for those two questions, do we get turnout?
You certainly, yeah, you will have a much reduced turnout from the state election this year. It's not a presidential, so that would be peak of peak, but the local elections was a track behind the state elections.
Okay. Anything this? Alright, item 10, discussion update approval of our climate leaders certification.
Sure, thanks, and we've talked briefly about this before, but we have in your packets the decarbonization roadmap, which is an outline of a plan of how the town would decarbonize its buildings and fleet if it so chose to target the 2050 goals that the town meeting voted to set out for the town last year. It focuses a lot on the school buildings as those are our largest emissions sources of emissions, and that is largely tracked to heating and cooling. Broad strokes, they identify geothermal as a necessary type of project concept that would achieve those decarbonization goals. Otherwise, it provides a pathway for how the fleet might be decarbonized and go to zero emission vehicles. It is certainly a non-binding plan. That's really, truly, what's in the title, a roadmap that says like, here are projects you should pursue if you wanna try to hit your targets. It is a requirement, as Alex in his public comment noted, that to become a climate leader in Massachusetts, you need a decarbonization roadmap and a zero EV policy, zero emissions vehicle policy. And unlocking or getting that status does unlock significant grant money for the town. So these are projects we would certainly not be able to pursue necessarily as part of our regular capital budget, but with the assistance of grant funding through the state, there might be projects that we're able to achieve that will help us upgrade mechanical systems that are approaching end of life for newer, more efficient alternatives that may reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. So that's the roadmap. Happy to take any questions on that. And the zero emissions vehicle policy is a policy that says that basically where possible, the priorities for the town to acquire zero emissions vehicles in lieu of gas powered vehicles, and then it does triage and says if you can't go zero emissions, then a plug-in hybrid would be the next alternative, and so on down the line. It does provide exemptions for first responder vehicles, heavy apparatus, heavy vehicles that work down at DPW, but encourages adoption of zero EV elsewhere where possible. Zero emissions vehicle, I keep saying zero EV. So I apologize. But I would say that adopting the policy doesn't require us to buy battery electrical vehicles, particularly for police, fire, DPW. But for our administrative fleet, it would be really hard to say if we adopt the zero emissions vehicle policy that we were gonna go start buying another gas powered Toyota. That would likely be something that we would no longer be doing under this policy. So that is really where the significant shift would be on the administrative vehicles front. And then as, equipment comes online and new vehicles and new options come online in the coming years, potentially, maybe that opens up what our options are, but for now, it's much more narrowly construed to, the admin vehicles as a kind of a requirement, and the rest of the vehicles are pretty much if possible and if practical, and if available. So that's a kind of high level summary. We would request that the board approves these by June 30th, so tonight would be great, but not necessary. I'm happy to take questions.
From your operational perspective, is there any reason why you think we should not do this, or any concerns that you had going forward with this?
I think if it were a binding, you shall do all of this, and there's no wiggle room there, then I would have concerns. But I think it speaks to what our policies have been. For example, we have a project right now looking at the HVAC system at the COA, and so we're looking at shifting away from a gas HVAC system to a heat pump electric type system. So that's a project we're looking at anyway that we might get grant funding for. So it's not changing our operational practice. On the vehicle front, in the last year, we replaced two admin vehicles with battery electric vehicles. So again, that's already something we're doing. So it's not changing our practice so much. It's more kind of formulating in a policy what we've been doing. So I don't have any concerns with that.
Thank you.
I think this is an important first step toward enabling deeper decarbonization town operations. And like Nick had mentioned, it creates opportunities for us to get grant funding, achieve cost savings. Gas hasn't been getting any cheaper, neither is electricity, but especially I'm interested in how some of the energy credit agreements and some of these moves toward zero emissions vehicles and decarbonization of buildings, how that puts us potentially on a more sustainable trajectory for utilities going forward. I don't know if you're able to speak to that or if anyone's done that analysis yet, but I definitely think that the Climate Action Committee and town staff have worked on putting all of this together. I think this is good stuff, and I'm planning to be supportive of it.
So I
And
think
it's not binding, is another important thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And in terms of the energy credit agreement, they wouldn't really interact much.
Okay.
However, what the energy credit agreement would do is kind of lock up a bunch of our kilowatt hour usage based on our current usage today. However, if as we electrify and move away from greenhouse gas emissions, our electricity usage will go up. So there will be future opportunities for future energy credit agreements as we shift from gas to electricity, if that is where we end up going. And the other thing in terms of state fund dollars that I should have is that because of Bill Ritchie and the Consolidated Facilities Department, Milton was one of the first green communities in the door and took advantage of that program over and over again and time again. So the projects that are out there that are the easy wins that you can get through the Green Communities Grant Program, we've kind of maxed that out. So the climate leaders would unlock more money because we're at a point where it's the more expensive projects that are left for us. There's solar on every school, there's solar on town hall. There is energy efficiency upgrades throughout all of these buildings. The school buildings again are newer, so that's helpful, but because of Bill and the consolidated team accessing that program, we really need kind of the bigger pot of money for the climate leaders to continue that work and to continue to maximize the grant dollars that exist.
I know Mr. Hasha, who was here earlier, sent us a series of questions that he had, and I believe you sent a response. I can't see it right now, but I think most of those have been answered.
Yes, I think in this discussion we've hit on some of them. He had asked, one of the questions was about EV chargers, is that would be critical is if we do expand our fleet. I'll just note that we are currently working on potentially 4 more chargers for town hall and then 2 over at Council on Aging through a grant program that should be of no or minimal cost to the town. And then there are questions about our vehicle inventory, which I can get into if the members want. There was one question that I thought was a good question about the differential cost between gas versus electric. When last year we bought a 2025 Chevy Equinox that was gas and 26 Equinox that was electric, and the difference in price on the delivery price that we paid was about $1,000. So the electric was $1,000 more. That was off a regional procurement that had very competitive pricing, and that those prices end at this fiscal year. So we're kind of at the mercy of what the options are out there for procurement, but that was an example of the prices were really competitive and pretty much equal at the end of the day on the differential between gas and electric. That's not to say that will be the case going forward, especially if the tax credits have dried up and everything else, but that's our recent experience.
I think there's a question too about, it definitely, he brought it up tonight, I can't remember if it was in the email questions, about charging stations in town. Does that ring a bell?
Yes, so we have 2 here at Town Hall, 1 at Council on Aging that's an outlet charger, like a home charger. But we are planning to roll out additional here at Town Hall and at the Council on Aging, but we don't have any at DPW, so that is a place where we would likely need to expand that in future years, depending on what kind of vehicles we acquire. But for now, it's Town Hall and Council on Aging, and then there's 2 down at the landing on Wharf Street and our work. But that's not a municipal facility.
John, did you ask?
As long as it's for cars, right, it's not for plowing equipment and everything else, right?
It technically covers our municipal fee broadly, but it provides exemptions for vehicles that are of a certain vehicle weight and that are assigned to certain duties that require, whether it's 24/7 operation at certain times, or plowing or other things are exempt. First responder vehicles are exempt. So those exemptions are in place as it relates to kind of our plow equipment, stone ice operations, etc.
Yeah, just, I don't wanna be around when they start doing that.
Well, and honestly,
I'll be,
we're not quite there yet on availability anyway, so.
Hope it's a little ways off.
No more questions, I would take a motion unless there is any hesitation, folks want to move it. If there's not, I'll take a motion.
Move to approve decarbonization roadmap and zero emissions vehicle policy.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Haggerty. Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And myself, yes. So item 11. Are you prepared to move it through, Al, or do you?
I think just, so I did not provide anything on this, we're still trying to hash out the specific language. But it's just, I wanna kinda keep this moving forward, so I guess it would be helpful to hear if there's any concerns over an energy credit agreement more generally. So the kind of policy elements of an energy credit agreement are a 25-year term to purchase credits from a solar facility in southeastern Massachusetts. So we're not purchasing the energy. We'd be buying credits. We then apply the credit against our own Eversource bills. So for every dollar, we'll pay 82.5 cents for the credit. So we have a 17.5 cent discount on the credits. And we'll then identify which Eversource accounts the credit should hit, and we'll reduce our Eversource costs. So we'll have a new expense to the energy company with savings on our Eversource fund. We are mapping out using approximately 75% of our electric load, so we'll tie up about 4 million kilowatt hours of the 6 million kilowatt hours that we use on an annual basis with this energy credit agreement. And it's a 25-year term. So there are risks. So the risk would be the cost of electricity goes to zero, and now we're paying for credits that we don't need. And I know that's not gonna happen, but it's in 25 years, who knows what could happen, so that risk is that the energy prices could drop so much that we don't need the credits anymore. Alternatively, the risk would be that we buy too many credits, so now we have more credits than we have Eversource bills. And we would be careful about that by, tying up less than what our electric load is today, and also being understanding that in future years, we expect our electric load to increase. So that's kind of really the outlines of what an energy credit agreement would look like. If there's hesitation or pause about entering into such an agreement, then we can stop our work. Otherwise, we can wrap up the legal agreement. And the other, I'm trying to think if there's any other negatives I wanted to mention. Yeah, I think it's just that 25-year term gives you hesitation. And based on the 17.5 cent discount that's been identified, that's a good kind of above market rate that we're getting. We found these are closer to like 15 cent to 12.5 cent off when we're at the 17.5 cent. So I don't know if I've explained everything about it, but
in terms of potential savings?
that's what I was gonna say. So we're, depending again on how much of our electric load we tie up, it's approximately about $150,000 to $200,000 depending on what that final kilowatt hour commitment that the town makes. So it is significant savings, and that would be felt across the school and the town budgets as we'd hit a bunch of different source accounts across both.
I don't have any like broad stroke concerns, but there's two areas it'd be nice to as before we finalize, would be nice to hear about. One, just like a little bit more on how we're comfortable with, you're basically kind of making a calculated whatever assessment that the 82.5, whatever number you had mentioned, is a safe enough. It's not perfect on risk, but it's a smart kind of rate. What information do we have to kind of know that that's kind of pretty good, option for us compared to what else is out there with different agreements, different options. Just a little bit on that would be nice. The other is, thing you think about is like any sort, and I think it's highly unlikely if it's just a local outfit that we are obtaining credits from, but are there any reputational concerns from the, I don't even know, is it like a solar, what type of sometimes these are like wind or solar farms or something where you're getting them from, but are there any, reputational, usually there's assurances that, on a reputational side about what type of organization it is, or parent companies are involved, and seems probably low likelihood here, but sometimes in the agreements you see some sort of information on, you know, the party you're going into business with for something like this for 25 years. What am I concerned of there? Not a lot. I mean, it's you know, if it's, you know, for example, like companies with, you know, poor financials, for example, then you kind of just been stuck in some weird agreement with them for a long time. And just a little bit more about the other side of the transaction would be nice.
I think to that point, the reputational one, they could certainly assign their rights, and that could be something where it's they do the development and they sell it off to a larger entity. My understanding is they do try to hold them, and that they've had successful projects in the past, but we can chase that down, and then, you know, there's expectations around what they're expected to hit if they hit their production, and that affects us as well. So all that math is kind of on a year-to-year basis based on what they're producing at their site in terms of generating credits for us to buy. So there's a minimum target that you have to hit, and then there's an expected end that they would hit. If they miss it, they owe us money. That's how that is typically phrased, and you'd see that in the agreement.
Would you prefer that we had these answers before a vote to move this to our next meeting?
I don't need a vote.
I didn't think we were
going
voting, yeah.
For you to vote on, but this is just helpful to make sure that we should close the loop on it and present an agreement at the next meeting.
Other thoughts? Move to item 12, the stage for Manning Park and East Milton Deck. Mr. Milano, if you could give us some of the history.
Sure. This is kind of coming quick and fast, and I apologize to the board for that. So
Should I recuse myself from these two?
I don't.
East Milton Deck.
Well, I definitely need to be at the Swan intersection. No, I guess I'll stay for this one.
And I can, in the next one, I'll ensure
Yeah.
where we're at, and then you can
Okay.
decide maybe if that would be helpful. So when the deck was first built several years ago, there's a space on the deck that was left clear that would, the concept was a bench and pergola type design that the select board worked on and the town staff worked on with the designer of the project, Howard Stein Hudson. That cost estimate came back at about $750,000, and one of the purposes was to have like a kind of a more central gathering place on the deck and a feature that would kind of serve as that. And at that price, the kind of momentum on it just stopped a little bit. And one comment that we've been hearing as, you know, the Milton Arts Center and the Chamber have tried to have events down there, or have had events down there, is there isn't really a place for performers to be located at. And Representative Wells, through this year's budget, secured $25,000 for a stage on the deck. I include in the packet kind of a layout of that, and I'll display that on the screen. So getting the earmarks out of the state agencies can be a little challenging, but in this case, we were able to get an agreement with the state agency for them to release the funding. So this is state grant funding, not town dollars, that would be available for this. And in working with new DPW Director Tom McCarthy over the last few weeks, he was able to pull together some proposals for a composite deck type stage with a ramp on the East Milton deck. So one of the unfortunate requirements of these earmarks is they expect them to be spent by the end of the fiscal year. So we would need a quick turnaround to build it, but we expect to be able to hit that. However, I know this is potentially a longer conversation than that. So the risk for us would be potentially losing that state money. And also, there isn't a ton of space down there, so getting something much bigger would only drive up costs and may make it not feasible. So what we're talking about is a roughly 20 by 12 stage with a wheelchair accessible ramp on the deck that would provide a place for performers to be located. If you've been down there for events, they're typically kind of just on the sidewalk area with amplification. So that's the concept. The pricing is in the $25,000 to $30,000 range, which we can fill in the gap with, town dollars if we have a gap. But I acknowledge that we're not giving you a lot of runway to go with here. And I apologize for that, but I just wanted to bring the opportunity to the board where I could, so this doesn't give you a lot, but the post office would be kind of upper left. Fire station would be bottom right, just to kind of situate you on the deck. And so as you can see, this area where the stage is proposed is bare of any planting, and that was intentional because this is where the concept of the pergola was going to go. So there would be some removal, as you can see, to accommodate the ramp, but otherwise the deck would go here, and as I mentioned, be a composite. The stage would go here, be a composite deck type material, 12 inches off grade. So not obviously a massive structure, but the intent is to get something that would provide a location for performers. And I let the Art Center know that we're proposing that. Joan and Kevin were happy to hear that, excited about the opportunity, but I again acknowledge the short ask and quick decision making I'm requesting of the board. Or if you're not prepared tonight, if there's information that you need in the next couple of days, we can turn around for a follow-up conversation.
This would need to be built by the end of June for us to keep the funds.
Without an extension, and those sometimes can be tricky.
You probably don't have a plan yet for so you say it's made out of composite material, so presumably
Trex.
weatherproof.
Is it Trex?
Yeah.
That's very slippery, you know.
Yes, so
Come
that's
Christmas
what we
time and it's 40 degrees and it's wet, it's like a skating rink.
So the material, nothing's been kind of committed on
No, I'm just
material,
saying,
but for
because
composite-
an elderly place, they got front stairs like that. And they're like a skating rink.
No, I can bring that to Tom and. if
And
the
like people
material's
with
not-
back decks have Trex, they've even said, you could go out on it in a 40-degree November, you'll go on your back.
So, yeah, has anyone contemplated a plan to secure that, little structure when it's not in use, or
And
is
what's-
there cover, or
No, it would be left.
it's just gonna hang
Left
out?
as decking in as would any kind of stage that we would have built.
Okay.
We had talked about whether a temporary stage would make sense. Those would likely be more expensive and then require staff to come in, move it, install it.
Move it around, yeah.
It's a permanent fixture. I'm sorry, I assumed it would. And how, I don't know. I mean, how often would we use it, do people think?
It's used a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
It's really
I
hard.
don't worry about it being used, I'm worried about it just being left out in the open and
It's really hard to
degrading.
get people's attention from ground level in the park, so just having a stage for all the events that happen there does make it much more useful for
Yeah.
bands, for lantern walk, for all the religious celebrations that we do. Christmas, having a stage would be great. Now, admittedly, we're not building, it's no Woodstock. Well, maybe it is.
Build it and they shall come.
Right? So, it's an opportunity to build something, knowing that it's probably not gonna last a decade. But give us resources, funds, something that's the Art Center, and it was always intended to have a staging area, which initially was pergola, but has not been fulfilled, so. And we can still, I think we still have room, as you're saying, John, to talk about materials.
But is there, in the wall, is there room, is that a handicap accessible area? Are they gonna,
Yes, they'll have to construct the ramp so it comes down to the sidewalk there. There's a granite curtain, I think that would have to be.
Alright, yeah.
To accommodate the ramp. We didn't expect the ramp was required, but it is, so that was an additional item. And then I just wanna note that the other problem that we have on the deck is electricity and power. What is there is meant for lighting. So whenever there's events, it becomes problematic for additional people to plug in amplification and other equipment there. So we need to have a follow-up conversation about Eversource as to what it would take to get a more consistent and higher power load on the decks to support just plugging in speakers rather than having folks, because what you see down there is there's a generator next to a speaker and you're hearing a generator and then you're hearing somebody talk. So getting some of that issue resolved would be helpful to support the place as to be supporting events and accommodating events.
And what does it look like? I'm trying to picture it, like, I don't know, do we know anything like that? What's that?
A back deck is what you think of it as, so it's nothing fancy
Elaborate, it's not
or
elaborate.
Correct, thank you, that's the word I was looking for.
What do we think?
Make a motion?
Take a motion if anyone so moved.
Make a motion to build a deck on Manning Deck. Huh?
Motion made.
Good job. That's amazing.
Need a second. Need a second.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Ms. Hagerty, Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Ms. Robichaud.
Yes.
Ms. Hagerty.
Yes.
And myself, yes. I can't wait to attend that. Good. All right, Mr.
I'm gonna recuse myself from this
Milano, I
one.
will go to you again for some history for item 13 on the Adams Quantum intersection design and the next steps.
Can I say something about this here? Sorry to interrupt. I am inclined to recuse myself too. I think coupled within this discussion is possibility of changes to Rose Street, which is my street, not a big street. And I'm just looking into, I don't think it's necessarily like a legal conflict, but it'd be, I don't wanna have, if action is taken by the town there, I don't wanna have it seem like any kind of concerns of favoritism or that. So I'm just thinking about the right scope of recusal to that, and perhaps getting some input on that. And I understand today is just really kind of an update and we're not like taking any action, so I think I'll be more refined on that by the time we are. So I'm gonna listen. It might in fact help me kind of think about the scope of recusal I need to take, but not participate yet, and probably more formally recuse soon. I just wanted to put that out there, so.
Thank you. So this project has a pretty extensive history. Several years ago, the town had a project added to the State Transportation Improvement Plan, which would unlock state construction money for transportation project in Milton at this intersection. The hitch being that the town has to pay for the design cost. You pay for the design cost and it's put on the tip and receives state funding. The state will pay for the construction money. So it's you front design, state will pay for the construction. The project has been on the tip and off the tip over the last couple of years, and is kind of at a standstill at this point, as we would need additional approval from this board to spend additional money that has been appropriated and is available to finish the design. As folks who were speaking on it described, it does propose to signalize Adams on Squantum. When you look at the prior information regarding this intersection, those left turn interactions from Adams onto Squantum or Squantum onto Adams creates both a congestion problem as well as a safety problem, and crash cluster was located here. So the proposal was to signalize and to kind of standardize those movements so you don't have people potentially taking aggressive or potentially unsafe movements across traffic in that area. It was also proposed as part of the design to convert row in that section to a dead end to remove one leg from that intersection, so there's less interaction between potential drivers in that area. We're at the 75% design stage that has accommodated changes. Mr. O'Donnell talked about impacts to the historical homes along Adams Street. There have been significant changes to the design than folks have last seen, so some of those concerns may be addressed by what's here. I won't assume they were necessarily until we have a conversation with them directly. But there have been tweaks to that design of the 75% stage to respond to those concerns about land takings on Adams Street. That would impact, the homes wouldn't be impacted, walls would have to be deconstructed and moved and reconstructed under kind of prior plans and potentially under the current plan. The kind of first question really is, do we want to pursue signalizing that intersection? And we've heard comments about that. I think what we need to do is probably have a reset with the engineers and have them explain this project, and whether that's a public meeting more generally that the select board attends, or whether that's first with the select board to decide whether to kick it back out publicly. That's kind of a sequential question over to the board. But trying to avoid the sunk cost fallacy, however, the town has spent significant dollars to date on designing this project, and we're kind of at that point where, do we want to spend the additional money to get it over the finish line, to get it potentially on the tip for state funding, or do we want to walk away from the project for now and leave it kind of on the shelf as a 75% design, and it could be picked up at a later point? So those are kind of the broad strokes of what the current status is and what decisions are to be made. So really what I'm looking for are any questions at this time, information the board would like, and then your thoughts on next steps on how to kind of decide where the board wants to go on this project.
Alright, thoughts from the members?
So, you said there'd be land taking on Adams Street?
There had been part of the project land takings proposed along Adams Street. If you're on Squam, taking a right onto Adams, those first 3 properties were going to be affected. However, the takings have been minimized as the design has progressed, so exactly what those takings are, I would have to wait for an engineer to speak to. But there have been takings all along.
Right there is your turn. The one on the corner and the other 2 houses.
Right after, yeah. The ones that
That they have
Steve
the nice
O'Donnell
granite
referenced.
wall in front.
Correct, yeah.
So the 2 options as you shared is us resurfacing this, to find out where we are, getting up to date with the project. Either it goes to public comment first, or they come to us here at the board for us to see it, or we can kind of leave it and say, we're not gonna move forward at all. I guess my personal opinion right now would be that for us to see what we have, or what's been done. I'm not sure many people, well, I know a lot of people do know the history of this and are concerned about it, but I think for a yes or no, that we at least get to see where the project was left. And have the engineers or whoever has the project now come before the board and share it. So we're at least fully informed before making whatever decision we would like to move forward. That's just my opinion. I'll certainly take thoughts from everyone on it.
I agree with you, Winston. See where they come, so what they've got done.
So we can target a summer meeting potentially, depending on timeline, and we'll work with DPW engineering to get the engineers involved in the design to do an overview of kind of the rationale for why and what the design entails, and then we'll share what the questions that we've heard so far in terms of some of the initial public comments. I think in particular around the multiple signals in that intersection and how that had been addressed previously in the designs. And of course, if other questions emerge as you're thinking about it, let us know and we can help them all prep for that. But we'll target probably July, August meeting, depending on what's going on with our other more critical timeline decisions too.
Yeah.
So, and then just to folks who aren't on the comment, we did just want to surface it as a check-in and an update, and that more will come on it. And in particular Steve comments, I'll make sure that he sees the latest plans so that we can understand what those takings may be on Acker Street at this point.
Thank you. Megan, you can return. We'll move to item 14, committee reports. We're here just in time for the budget coordination committee.
Okay, so the Budget Coordination Committee met yesterday morning where we voted to approve an updated cross-board budget calendar that we think is going to help facilitate some more seamless planning and facilitate better communication across boards. It requires us starting earlier in the year in August and hopefully gets us to a budget submission in January. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes.
So just kind of looking, doing some after actions of the last couple of years, what's worked, what hasn't worked, we want to try this approach. School committee's on board, and we think it's going to be good. So we are also planning to meet on the 22nd of June to go through, some survey work for the committee to just kind of figure out, what's working, what's not working with the functioning of the committee itself. And then we're gonna take July off and then begin with the budget cycle in August. So it's reflective of a lot of hard work around the table, Nick and his team, John Phelan and his team, school committee, warrant committee. I'm forgetting someone important, planning board, Leroy Walker. I was thinking of my vice chair. He did a lot of work on that calendar, and has been a valuable source of institutional knowledge. So we're happy about our performance for the first year and really looking forward to the fiscal year coming up.
Thank you. John, I know you spoke about the Affordable Housing Trust in our last meeting, haven't you?
Yeah, we toured the Miller Ave site. We got a meeting tomorrow night. And I was incorrect, we didn't vote money yet, but hopefully tomorrow night we do. And I was on the airplane committee, and that's quite a group. Yeah. There's a lot of history there that I've dug into, and I don't know, Nick. Is that punishment? They've been at it for so long, I just think FAA just listens to them and that's it.
I don't even know if they listen.
That's kind of what the FAA does.
I know, but I'm just saying. And it's an interesting group and there's a lot of people that know a lot of stuff about it. And hopefully we move the ball a little bit. But thanks, Nick, for letting me get on that committee.
I will add one more, just the housing production plan. Myself and Megan were on the initial meeting, just big picture. What came out of that was speaking with the consultant about timeline and deliverables. Broad strokes, it is, she will be beginning the process in the summer. First part of the product will be sent to boards for review, and then also us scheduling public comment and review for the entire plan. I can't get into it too much because one of the first things we're asking for is a calendar to be sent to all the boards with a map of deliverable dates as well as expected meeting dates through the summer and the fall so that we can sort of schedule ourselves around the expectations of the housing production plan, knowing that I think we get that plan in two phases, the first being the housing needs assessment and then the complete plan. So Director Liz Manning was there and I think shortly we'll be getting that schedule, which will be distributed for our expectations. So, that's all.
I'll give an update on school building committee. So Nick touched on before the component of the work happening right now with respect to engaging the architect around library. The only thing I'll add there is in our next meeting on July 22nd, I think we are hoping to bring the architect in to just have that ongoing kind of discussions about like what they're looking at, and just maybe like an initial checkup. I think it's a few days after the architect is going to walk the site. Just to kind of stay closely coordinated there. And there may be a possibility that this board or school committee are invited to attend to if you have questions for the architect. I'm not sure yet. We just set that meeting last night. So that's that component. And then just quickly, still with school building committee, last night we met and transitioning now to the MSBA timeline, we had 3 hours of interviews with as part of module 2 of that process, to interview potential owners, project managers for the project. And at that point, a subcommittee within school building committee had narrowed down a list of 11 to 3 who the rest of us met with. It was a really strong group of 3. And we ranked in sort of our preferences of the 3 and voted to approve the town to kind of try to negotiate and finalize to bring on an OPM for coordination there. So a lot of work kind of being put forth by committee for sort of the 2 lanes of diligence here.
No pilot?
Oh, I don't have any updates on pilot. Thank you.
That's what you get a chance.
Appreciate it.
All right, item 15, select board retreat this Saturday. I think there's been a questionnaire sent for items for us to sort of think through for the facilitator, and honestly, no bad ideas. It's really for us to map out how we see this year and subsequent years in our work. Ms. Milano, is there anything additional? I know I haven't sent you all of mine back.
Yes, please, if you have.
Yeah, and I didn't see there, I'm sorry.
I have 2 of 5, so 2 passing.
Sorry.
Terrible students.
Yeah.
You know who the 3 are.
So as soon as you get those.
I didn't actually until you spoke up.
So thanks for completing it. If you get it into me, I can turn it over to the facilitator. We can have a little bit of add some structure to the conversation on Saturday morning.
Can I ask a question on timing again? What time are we planning to start?
7 in the morning.
So
I thought it was 6:30.
Can I,
Pretty sure it's 10 a.m. as well.
is there any objection to starting at 11? Sorry to ask at the last minute. Does that screw us up?
Let me check with Kate, but
Okay.
around the table, okay.
None for me.
I'll
I have
There's no
a,
problem.
I have a daughter's dance recital that
Oh.
I
Just try to
did
make that.
not have on the calendar.
It's great for her to see you dance.
Right, yeah. If any consideration, that would be
Okay.
incredible.
Yeah.
And it's over at the high school, so I can get over here really quickly.
11 to 1.
I appreciate it.
Hopefully.
Yeah, no, I'll confirm tomorrow morning.
So the 3 of us will do our questionnaire and we'll move to 11 to 1. Item 16, Pride Month proclamation. Allow me to read. Whereas the town of Milton is a friendly and welcoming community that celebrates and promotes diversity and inclusion, and whereas the town of Milton recognizes the importance of equality and freedom, and whereas the town of Milton is dedicated to fostering acceptance of all its residents and preventing discrimination and mistreatment based on sexual orientation or gender identity, and whereas the town of Milton is strengthened by and thrives upon the rich diversity of ethnic, cultural, racial, gender, and sexual identities of its residents, all of which contribute to the vibrant character of our town. And whereas the town of Milton recognizes the importance and contributions of members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ community, now therefore, we, the Milton Select Board, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2026 as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ Pride Month in Milton. We encourage all residents to promote the principles of equality, liberty, and inclusion, and to celebrate the diversity and contributions of the LGBTQ community. Given this day, Tuesday, June 9th, 2026, signed by myself, the chair, on behalf of the Milton Select Board. Any additional thoughts?
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Do you need a motion and a vote?
Okay.
Move
I'll
to
take a
approve
motion.
the Pride Month proclamation?
Second,
Motion made and seconded. Mr. Driscoll.
yes.
Mr. Bishop.
Yes.
Yes.
Second.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Thanks for reminding me. Alright. We have another one, I think, for the Milton Pride to use Manning Park, okay? I'll take a motion for that.
Move to approve the application for Milton Pride to use Manning Park, East Milton deck on Saturday, June 27th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. for a coffee and community event to close out Pride Month.
Second,
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Driscoll. Will you vote, sir?
yes.
Mr. Bishop.
Yes.
Yes.
Seconded.
Yes.
And myself, yes. And one-day liquor license for the historic New England Eustace Estates, 1424 Canton Ave on Saturday, August 15th.
Make a motion to approve a one-day liquor license for historic New England Eustace Estate at 1424 Canton Ave on Saturday, August 15th, 2026, from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. for the David Chestnut Jazz Festival.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Ms. Hagerty. Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mr. Overshammer.
Yes.
Ms. Nolan.
Yes.
Ms. Hagerty.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Discussion and approval of meeting minutes. Any thoughts or comments from the board?
These were amended, right? Okay. I'd like to move to approve the amended meeting minutes dated May 6th, 2026.
Motion made.
Second.
Motion seconded by Ms. Nolan. Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
Mr. Overshammer.
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Hagerty.
Yes.
And myself, yes. Now to the town administrator's report.
The Milton Randolph Veterans District have, we've made an offer and had an offer accepted to an individual come on board as the new veteran service officer for the district, so serving Randolph and Milton, and the days in Milton will continue to be Tuesday and Thursday. Not 100% sure that individual's name is public yet, so I won't share that quite here yet, but I just wanted to inform both the public and board that we will have a new VSO starting on Monday, June 29th, so their first day in Milton will be the following day. And an 8-year Army veteran and working currently in another community as a VSO, so has that experience as well. So we're excited to welcome them. And at our next meeting, I'll be able to disclose more, but I wanted to make that announcement and just thank both Christine Stan and Cody Case for stepping up in the meantime on helping facilitate some veterans issues that have been cropping up while that position has been vacant. I just wanted to share that town staff, every year we work with our insurer Maya to submit trainings and policy changes and updates that we've made that result in rewards for the town and that defrays our insurance costs. And this year, Milton was one of the top performers in the Maya program with $45,000 in savings driven by rewards that activities that departments undertook from training and other opportunities. Last year we received $16,000, so we tripled what we did last year. So just a lot of gratitude for department heads for doing what they do, and then also making sure to report it to us so we get credit for it on our insurance bill. So that's real money and significant savings, $30,000 more than last year alone. So appreciate their efforts and some good news for the fiscal 27 budget early. This weekend is also the Strawberry Festival here at Town Hall, so we'll be a little busy when you arrive for the retreat. So just keep that in mind. And for anybody else who's around, if you wanna stop by, Strawberry Festival will be taking place during the day on Saturday, and then as, Aaron mentioned before, the Pride event is on Sunday here at the gazebo. I've mentioned a little bit about what's going on with the state budget before, but just to kind of do a little update as to where things stand. The state operating budget, the last act there was the Senate approved their budget, which had a significant infusion in state and local aid that was adding another couple $100,000 to our calculation for state aid for fiscal 27. So that continues to look good for Milton, but we'll have to see what the final conference committee budget looks like on that. We're still waiting some news there. A couple of other supplemental and other budgets have been approved in recent weeks. The legislature has approved $100 million for snow and ice for fiscal 26 expenses. 80 million would go to all cities and towns based on the roadway mileage formula, so that means about $250,000 for Milton for snow and ice expenses in this budget year, which is great news for us. Another 20 million is set aside for communities that were significantly impacted. Whether Milton will rise to get additional funding remains to be seen. I expect that to go significantly to like the South Coast communities, Cape, that had significant outages and those long duration recovery. But we had high expenses too, so we'll see what that translates to. But the $80 million, we're guaranteed at least about $250,000 that will help defray our current year expenses as we look to close out this year. There's additional money for circuit breaker to help out school districts. And then the legislative delegation worked together, all three, Rep. Wells, Rep. Fooker-Reed, and Senator Driscoll, to secure $250,000 for the Tucker School Playground Project. That's in the fair share budget that is spending some of that fair share money. So that's $250,000 secured for that project, which is on the good news. So I appreciate their continued work and some good news lately, and hopefully it will continue. State House, and that is
Can I ask a question about the fair share funding? Is it out of the education portion of the fair share funding?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I can find out.
Yeah, I would just, that I can also ask too, but yeah, just the mechanism for like who holds what department holds the funds.
Okay. I can find it.
Chair's report. First, I, bear with me, I want to read this specifically, but I want to acknowledge Milton officers Mark Menchie and Michael Cherry. They were recently honored at the Quincy Law Day. They were nominated for the Robert P. Dana Distinguished Services Award for Law Enforcement. I want to be specific in saying what they achieved here. On a series of dates during late summer and fall of 2025, officers Mark Menchie and Michael Cherry Jr. responded to several unrelated incidents involving life or death situations. These incidents included barricaded subjects, suicidal people, and vehicle crashes involving multiple amputations on scene. In each of these situations, Officer Menchie and Cherry took quick action to gain access to the individuals involved, de-escalate volatile situations, and provide critical life-saving medical treatment to save the lives of the individuals involved. So I want to say thank you and congratulations to them. Hard to say congratulations on such a hard scene, but thank you to Officers Menchie and Cherry for your dedication. On different news, congratulations to the Milton baseball team. They just won today, 6-5 in 8 innings, and they are going to the championship. I can tell my text has been blowing up about the game. So congratulations to them. I think that's going to be their 3rd or 4th trip in the last 6 or 7 years to the championship. So congratulations to them as well. Over the weekend, we had Milton High School graduation. As a father of a now graduate, it was a great event. We moved inside. It was a little hot, but it was well attended, well spirited, and congratulations not only to the 2026 graduates, an incredible group of young people, but thank you to John Phelan, the superintendent, as well as Principal Karen Cahill. And this, I'm biased. My daughter's one of the graduates, but a great group of kids who I can say I've known so many of them since they were in our pre-K and kindergarten program. So congratulations to them and their families, and much luck going forward. I will echo Ms. Milano's statements about our state reps. They've done a great job in helping us secure funding, not only for the Tucker, but also for our snow and ice budget. You heard about Representative Wells being able to get us that money for the deck in East Milton. So thank you to them for their continued help and dedication to the town as well. And also, Pride on Sunday. Everybody come out. Happy Pride. I will be there. My Jeep will be in the procession. I'm sure it will be a very, very good time. So I believe that is all for myself. Public comment response. I will open that to the floor first, so anything that's on folks' mind from public comments.
First, I didn't catch his last name, but just wanna commend Benjamin for his.
Walcott.
In the
Okay,
8th grade.
there you go. I mean, it takes guts to come up there and he was clearly well prepared. Very impressive, so awesome job. Number 2 for me, with regard to the Canton Ave Mass comments, you know, I do, it does strike me that I think following last meeting's presentation, I can talk about this with you here, Megan, or, yeah, it's just a small, but just perhaps an opportunity here, like, while MassDOT is close on the road diet, to try to get some extra focus from them to address some of the, or at least, you know, what additional help while they're focused on this can we get to them to kind of be a thought partner or more, you know, funder, you know, to address some of those resident concerns on Canton Ave. Can we go back to MassDOT and see what they can do with regard to calming support or recommendations would be my thought, and what does that look like, and, you know, should we put it, you know, how do we kind of hear back on that, basically?
So I've recommended in the past, so I know I've been able to comment on off of the road diet pilot area. You know, on the latter streets near Reedsdale, I think that a similar notion applies here, which is the DOT has access to modeling software that the town does not. It might be interesting to do an analysis of, you know, before and after the roadway treatment in the Upper Canton area. Because it'd be interesting too to understand like where the traffic is coming from and going to before determining the treatment. For what it's worth, so that is in agreement with Pete's recommendation to reach back out to the MassDOT staff.
Can I add to that as well? I think, you know, they didn't measure from Blue Hill Ave to 138 in their like catch area, whatever that's called. And I'd be interested to see, because I think if folks are coming from South Cities and they used to come up Randolph, I think they're now coming up 138 and then cutting off onto Canton Ave, and I don't think we've measured that, so I think I agree with Megan, I agree with Pete, we should look at that again.
Yeah, but the only problem, when you get up to 38, you stop and go there. So I don't see how you're getting anywhere.
There's
Well,
gonna
I'm
be,
saying
there's gonna
No, I
be-
understand what you're all saying, it just,
Yeah. It's gonna go somewhere,
it's going somewhere.
yeah.
And I feel for the people in Canton Ave, like today it took me 20 minutes to go from St. Elizabeth's to my house in the single lane. And people block that intersection, it's just certain days. And
20 minutes from St. Elizabeth.
St. Elizabeth's, because they were going up Randolph Ave, creeping.
Yeah.
It's like leaf peeping season in New Hampshire, I describe it.
Yeah.
So it's just,
That's
we're all feeling.
You don't live that far from.
No, I know, but it's,
St.
it's, we're just living it, you know what I mean? You took a 4-lane highway and you made it down to one way up, one way down.
Yeah.
And they're going somewhere. And 38 always, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I hate to have trucks over that way because they're in traffic, you know what I mean? I found a way around, I'm not telling how to do it either. It's I'm moving all the time, I'm not sitting in
Don't worry,
traffic.
the GPS apps will catch up to it.
No, they better not.
Start directing everyone, unless you have a special off-road.
No, it just keeps moving.
I can certainly follow up, I think, I think the speeding and safety aspects have been in there, whether it's 3 years ago or today, I think that the speeds on Canton Avenue has been problematic, so if there's ideas and ways to, perhaps it'll still accommodate the same amount of vehicles, maybe it'll just be moving a little bit slower, especially through that area from the Dollar Lane stretch down to Equity, so we can engage them and see what thoughts they have or the suggestions that they have, and then obviously as part of the traffic calming work that we're gonna commence once we turn into July, this is a place that we can, that will certainly, be released as a potential place to think about, some options there.
Can I ask a question about committees too? Is there more space to have additional folks on some of the traffic committee or?
I think that might be showing up under future agenda items.
No, I mean, don't get me started here. I think there's opportunity here for, a space, like you're saying, for trying to centralize or proactive planning for this, traffic commission is fantastic in doing so much, but and also to tie in our, oversight of the common core, which I think we need that to live somewhere. I definitely want to talk more about that. I also think to John's point, at some point, some of these solutions or needs become more of folding into townwide need to be proactive, broadly thinking about solutions, but I just think, the Canton Ave one cannot just, that was the location identified in the report last meeting as kind of the most, lingering impact. So I think that's why, from a fairness perspective, why can that, why are we following up on that one now versus folding it into broader planning efforts? That's at least the way I'm thinking about it. But thinking the same as you, Megan. So do we need to get that on a future agenda, or what's process wise, what's the way to kind of get that, keep that moving?
MassDOT with Canton Ave.
Yeah.
We'll reach out to them this week and just flag it as, I had already provided them information related to the signal down at Canton, Douglas Parkway, as we've seen stacking and queuing there, and they had offered to look at the timing there, particularly when someone dedicated west there, I let people through, so they were, had offered to analyze that signal timing for us, so that's with them, so I'll check in on that.
Is that their signal? Is that MassDOT signal?
DCR.
Oh, okay.
Milton's.
I was like, is that a
No, it's
DCR
ours.
signal?
Yeah, it's a Milton, Canton Ave is Milton's, DCR has the other two streets, but the signal is ours. And so they have that to analyze in terms of the signalization, and I will follow up in terms of any thoughts and suggestions and technical assistance related to the Canton Ave issues that I've.
Thanks.
Alright, I will just speak to the two young men who came in. Perhaps we will direct some of our school committee members to just listen to their comments if they have not already attended a school committee meeting. But what they surfaced about state funds and other things are issues that we are dealing with as adults as well, so they are well taken. And to Mr. O'Donnell, Mr. Doherty, more to come on the Swanham and Adams piece as well. I think all that stuff in those cards. Thank you. Select future meeting schedule. We are back to the 23rd, not the 30th. So we're still on the 23rd. We have our retreat 13th, and then perhaps on the 23rd we'll talk about how we want to do summer. If we want to shoot for July and August to have 3 combined meetings in those, because I'm assuming some of us would like to get away for a little bit, just not be on our 2-week cadence at some point in July and August. So we can decide on those.
And I either start started or I've sent an email about asking for availability, so if I didn't send it, I will send it, okay, it didn't go out, alright, so, you can either fill out the form or just let me know.
Thoughts for future agenda items? Thanks, President.
For our meeting with, so I think we talked already, I can't remember, I'm sorry, about inviting representatives from, who are overseeing the school building or school committee work around Library A. I think that would be great. I think we already talked about that. For the planning board on the 23rd, what do you guys think? I mean, do we have an agenda for that, or would it make sense to spend a moment on that now? Or am I jumping ahead here?
I would say that for us, I'll say for what I will be just sitting down with the planning board chair tomorrow to speak about some of those items, how we'd like them to go. If there are any points from the members that you would like to have shared, I think email that to me, Mr. Milano. We can compile questions or points that we want to hit with 2 weeks to get to that. So anything that's on the top of mind, we can share in our meetings before 23rd.
Yeah, to be clear, I wasn't expecting an agenda yet. That you reframed my question. What I was asking is like, how could we contribute to that agenda? So that's great. Yeah.
I will add one. Maybe it's not on the agenda, but just something to surface. You and I spoke about. I think it's been raised before, the possibility of moving voting for town elections from the Tucker to another location. It's been asked for, requested. So us to do a little diligence on how possible that is. It's limited in parking, limited for some space. There's been another option presented, so let's see how real that is. All right, if nothing else, I will move to enter executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property at Library College based on this belief that discussion of this matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the select board. The select board will not return to open session. We'll also move to enter executive session to consider purchase, exchange, value, lease, or value of real property at 488 Canton Ave based on the belief that discussion of this matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the select board. The select board will not return to open session.
And then the next.
Second.
And you vote on that, right? Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Overshawn?
Yes.
Yes.
Saggerty?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Do we need to move forward?
Yes, please.
Yep. I will also move to enter into an executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. Milton Clerical Unit of the Southern Eastern Public Employees Association, Milton Professional Management Association, Milton Public Employee Association, Milton Firefighters Local 1116, Milton Police Association, Milton Superior Officers, Milton Library Association, based on this belief that discussion of this matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the select board. The select board will not return to open session.
Second.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
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 And myself, yes. I will now move to adjourn.
Second.
Just do a voice vote for that?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Do we need Governor Stevens or are we good?
I think we're still live.
It's up to you if you wanna call it or if we just,
For Governor Stevens?
yeah, nothing on my end that's pressing.
Are we still?
We'll move it. So we can-
So we're done.
We're
Okay,
done.
we are
Close.
Okay.
Yes, do you want to go, do you want to proceed, do you want?
I think we're good.
We're good, thank you, good night.
All right.
Let me know, and I'll